How's it going, YouTube? Hi Drax, and in today's video I'm going to be discussing with you guys the next possible free-to-play team that's going to be grindable coming to Legends. Obviously we do have a number of free-to-play grindable teams out right now. Obviously we had the Ginyu Force back a while ago, I suppose. Even Captain Ginyu at this point has a Zenkai. We do have the minions such as Ramon, Nabana, Rubbery, Orlin, and there's Apul there. Obviously this is known as the Apul Squad, or the Frieza Saga team. This team is extremely good and one of the best free-to-play teams in the game. If you want to grind high ranks, this team is easily able to do it. Obviously there are a couple units here that aren't really suited to being on this team, such as Nabana and Orlin. Obviously you can sub in other units here or there. But then the most recent release of the free-to-play version of these teams that buff their individual sagas is going to be the Cybermen teams with all the different Cybermen. The free-to-play Cybermen team is not as good as the Frieza Saga, but that's to be expected considering that they don't really want to give the player base too many free-to-play stuff that's broken or too good, otherwise it diminishes their revenue because you don't really summon for units for your other teams since you have a very strong free-to-play team as it is. So that's why I believe that at least for now the Cybermen will be probably the worst, and they probably find the middle ground in between for the next team. And for the next team, I think it's pretty obvious what they should do, and that's going to be Team Bardock. Team Bardock is definitely one of the teams that deserve a free-to-play variant of the team. As you can see, Team Bardock does not have many units at all in the game. Fasha, Tora, Borgos, Shugesh all have one variation of them in the game. All of them are EXs, there's no other versions, no sparkings. At least for Bardock, he does have 2 units that are in his base form and then transforming into the Rebel Saiyan, and then he has one Super Saiyan version of him in the game. But over on Dokkan, it's pretty obvious they released a free-to-play Ginyu Force team, and then there's another free-to-play. I think it's the coolest team, and then there's all these other free-to-play teams that are just basically the same unit. But the free-to-play Bardock team was one of the more recent free-to-play teams that they dropped back, and then you do get a free LR Team Bardock, which is basically what I'm basing my speculation on. Generally, Legends and Dokkan do things in tandem, so if you do see one thing over in one game, it probably will come fairly soon to the other game. This happened quite often. Back when UI dropped on Legends, then UI dropped a little bit earlier up on Dokkan. So it makes sense that they want to keep things a little bit synced up so that they don't overshadow each other too much on certain release. Obviously, when it comes to anniversaries and stuff, Dokkan is running supreme, and then Legends won't really have hype stuff going on, just so that the more profits are being built up on one game apart from the other. Obviously, they're the same company, but they do compete with each other for revenue because it's, at the end of the day, it is a business, and they do want to keep the longevity of their games up because it's making them a ton of money. People do say that Legends does not make as much money as Dokkan, but compared to other gacha games, they definitely pulling in a lot of money because of the Dragon Ball IP, and I'm pretty sure they want to keep that up. And it's not like Legends is a very bad game. It does get a bad rap because of cheaters and PvP, but if we had the seamless experience of both of those things, this game here would probably be more popular than Dokkan in the terms of PvP style battling, and in terms of player versus player or opponent versus opponent type situations, because as it is, Dokkan, while being a decent game, is mostly a single player game where you basically summon and then you use your units in different events, which is why the Dokkan side of things do tend to take off a lot more than Legends. But let's just go ahead and let's just speak about what we could see for a free-to-play Team Bardock, which is what I believe should release. There could be other teams that they could release based on the sagas. I'm not entirely sure what they could do for the Majin Buu saga. Maybe they'll do Babidi's minions with Spopovich, Yamu, Yakon, and Puki. I don't know what his name is, Kui or something like that, that got vaporized by Vegeta in the times 10 gravity. We could maybe see a free-to-play version of that team with a free-to-play Dobora, or maybe Babidi himself, or maybe a free-to-play duo unit, EX duo unit, maybe the first ever to drop. Because when it comes to these teams such as Minions and Cyberman and Frieza Saga, the Frieza Saga units, or the henchmen. These guys buff their own sagas. If we look at Ginyu Force buffs mostly Ginyu Force, and then Frieza Saga. The obviously the minion units here buff the Frieza Saga and then the minions, and then Cyberman buff, I believe, only the Frieza Saga. I don't believe they give individual buffs to their own tag, being Cyberman. But yeah, so they do generally release these free-to-play teams in the hopes of buffing a specific category, being the sagas, the Frieza Saga, Namek Saga, Saiyan Saga. All those sagas, they do buff their teams. It is a very ingenious way of adding units buffing those tags, because those tags as a whole don't really receive buff units that buff those teams. They did try it with barking units, but it became a very it became more of a hassle to do that, because they would gimp their Z ability from buffing maybe another tag to buffing their respective sagas. So in my opinion, I would love to see a free-to-play version of Team Bardock. Tora, Borgo, Shugesh, Fasha would definitely be well received in the game, and then maybe release Bardock as well. 6 units, how many are here? 2, 4, 5, maybe a 6th unit here being a maybe a duo unit with all of the Bardock units, similar to how they have Team Bardock. That would be very, very good for the game, and it'll really help a lot of Saiyan people who run Saiyans, because obviously these are all Saiyans. They'll all be buffing Saiyans. Maybe they'll buff Anime Saga Originals and finally give Kaioken, Goku, and Pikkon a team to run on, because let's face it, Otherworld Warriors does not have a team that is worthy of even being put together and run. Yeah, so this would be a very good team to do that for the Anime Saga Originals. As for whatever they do with their kits, it'll obviously be a Bardock show in terms of how the units work. They'll probably end up being KO'd and giving Bardock buffs or something or other like that, maybe healing him up, giving him damage, doing that stuff. So yeah, I would love to see a free-to-play Bardock team. I'm not going to go too in depth onto the specifics of how I want each unit to work, because that'll take way too long. Maybe I'll say that for another video, or maybe we'll see this team very soon, because when the release of the minions and the Cybermen, it was a pretty short window from each of them being only like a month or so, which is not very long, considering that the last time we got a free-to-play team, a complete free-to-play team, was with the Ginyu Force, which was a very long time ago. And even then too, you could only get them to 3 stars, I believe, and then afterwards you would have to summon for them and then get them up to their 6 and 7 stars, and then obviously up and above that. But anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you enjoy the content thus far. Make sure to stay tuned to the channel if you're enjoying the content. My name is Hydrax. I'll catch you in the next one.